Today we will be dealing on the topic rocks. The earth crust is made up of rocks. We live on the rocky surface of the earth and grow our food derived from the weathered material of the rock, that is soil. Soil is the life sustaining layer of both plant and animals' life. Rocks are the storehouse of variety of mineral resources. Coal, petroleum and natural gas are obtained from the sedimentary rocks. Precious minerals like gold and diamonds is derived from the rocks. Rocks have been used by the mankind throughout the history. The rocks not only provides mineral resources but has been used by the mankind since the Stone Ages. The various landforms evolved on the earth's surface and their characteristics depends on the type of the rock. The earth's surface is covered by rocks. The basic question which arises here is that do the surface of the earth is made up of similar type of rocks? To know what are the rocks and how they are formed, what are the various types of rocks, what are the major characteristics of various types of rocks. The term lithosphere means rock sphere, as the literal meaning of lithos is rock. Rock has been defined as the coherent, consolidated and compact mass of two or more minerals. Rock is an aggregate of minerals that forms an appreciable part of the lithosphere. The term rock has been defined differently by geologists, geomorphologists and civil engineers. To the geologists, rock is any consolidated mass of mineral matter which forms part of the earth crust. Rocks may consist of only one mineral, in which case they are called as monomineralic, but usually consist of an aggregate of minerals. More than one element of the earth's crust is organized from compounds which are known as minerals, and minerals are organized to form rocks. Mineral is naturally occurring organic and inorganic substance. A mineral is composed of two or more elements. The 8 most abundant elements of the total mass of the earth crust are oxygen, silicon, aluminium, iron, magnesium, calcium, potassium and sodium. These elements constitute 99% of the earth's crust. Oxygen is the predominant element which account for little than half the total weight. The elements in the earth's crust are rarely found exclusively, but they are usually combined with other elements to make various substances. Rocks is thus a consolidated topmost portion of the earth's surface. Rocks representing the geomaterials of the earth's crust are composed of two or more minerals. Rocks play a very important role in determining the characteristic features of the several types of erosional landforms. Because the nature and the magnitude of erosion, petrology is the science of rocks. Though the number of elements making up the lithosphere are limited, they are combined in different ways to make up many varieties of minerals. There are at least 2000 minerals that have been named and identified in the earth's crust, but almost all the commonly occurring ones are related to two major mineral groups that are known as major rock forming minerals. The major rock making minerals of rocks are silicate minerals, which includes quartz, feldspar and ferromagnesium. The silicate minerals are important rock making minerals. Quartz is hard and resistant mineral. The most abundant and rock forming silicate minerals are feldspar. Economically, feldspar is very important because it is used in ceramics and glass industry. The other rock making minerals includes carbonate group of minerals, sulfide minerals and metallic elements. The crustal rocks are classified on several grounds like mode of formation, physical and chemical properties and location, etc. Based on the mode of formation, rocks may be classified into three categories as igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. As the name suggests, the origin of the igneous rock is related to fire. In Latin, ignis means fire. The source of formation of igneous rocks is deep-seated magma or the lava which comes out to the surface, cools and solidifies to form the rock. The igneous rocks are first to form on the Earth's surface, hence they are called as primary rocks. Igneous rocks are originated first of all the rocks during the formation of the upper crust after the origin of the Earth. They are called as parent rock because other two rocks are formed from the igneous rocks only. The type and nature of rocks formed from the magma or lava also depends upon the nature and chemical composition of the magma. There are vast variations in the igneous rocks in terms of chemical and mineralogical characteristics, amount of silica content, texture of grains and mode of occurrence. Igneous rocks are classified into three major groups: felsic igneous rocks, mafic igneous rocks and ultramafic igneous rocks. Felsic igneous rocks are mostly composed of feldspar and silica content. They are lighter in nature. Mafic igneous rocks are composed of magnesium and ferrous, that is iron. They are composed of dominant minerals of dark groups such as pyroxenes, amphiboles and olivines, all of which have rich content of magnesium and iron. Ultramafic igneous rocks are characterized by the abundance of pyroxenes, periodorite and dunite, which are rich in olivine. The most traditional method of the classification of igneous rocks is based on the amount of silica. Based on the silica content, igneous rocks are divided into two broad categories: acidic igneous rocks and basic igneous rocks. Acidic igneous rocks are characterized by high content of silica, which varies between 65 to 85%. The average density varies between 2.75 and 2.8. Acidic igneous rocks generally lack iron and magnesium. They are hard and relatively resistant to erosion. These rocks are light in weight and are used as building materials. Quartz and pink feldspar are the dominant minerals. Example, granites. Basic igneous rocks, lower amount of silica content. The silica content in basic igneous rocks varies between 45 to 60%. Their average density ranges from 2.8 to 3.0. Basic igneous rocks predominates in ferromagnesium minerals. The rock is heavy in weight and dark in color. Basic igneous rocks can be easily eroded when it comes in contact with water. These rocks are fine-grained igneous rocks. Basalt, gabbro, dolerite are the typical examples of basic igneous rocks. Based on the texture of grains, igneous rocks are further classified into 5 major types as pegmatite igneous rocks, which are coarse-grained. Igneous rocks with large crystals, example, granite. Phaneritic igneous rocks, those which are coarse-grained and the grains are visible. Aphanetic igneous rocks are the fine-grained igneous rocks. The grains of these type of rocks are not visible to naked eye. Glassy igneous rocks are those without grains of any size. Porphyritic igneous rocks are mixed grain rocks. On the basis of mode of occurrence, igneous rocks are classified into intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rocks. Intrusive igneous rocks are those which are formed during the volcanic activity, when the magma is cooled and solidified below the surface of the earth. The resultant igneous rocks are called as intrusive igneous rocks. On the basis of the depth of the place of cooling of magma, the intrusive igneous rocks are subdivided into 1. Plutonic intrusive igneous rocks and 2. Hyperbasal igneous rocks. Plutonic intrusive igneous rocks are formed when the magma is cooled and solidified very deep within the earth. They are called as deep-seated igneous rocks. Since the rate of cooling of magma because of the high temperature prevailing there, and hence there is a sufficient time for the full development of grains. Thus the plutonic rocks are very coarse grained. Example, granite. Hyperbasal intrusive igneous rocks are formed due to the cooling and solidification and rising of magma during the volcanic activity in the cracks and crevices and joints and hollow places just below the earth's surface. The resultant rocks are called as hyperbasal intrusive igneous rocks. Depending on the form taken by the magma after cooling and solidification, the hyperbasal intrusive igneous rocks are classified as batholiths, laccoliths, phaccoliths, lapoliths, silts and dikes. The term batholiths are applied to any large intrusive mass of the igneous rock. They are irregular form of solidified magma. Batholiths usually cover an area greater than 100 square kilometers. Single batholiths extend downward several kilometers. They are usually dome shaped and their side walls are very steep or almost vertical. The upper portion of the batholiths becomes visible when the superincumbent cover is removed due to the continued denudation. When exposed to the surface, they are subjected to intense weathering and erosion, and hence their surface becomes highly irregular. Numerous batholiths are intruded below the Dharwarian sedimentary formation in many parts of the peninsular India. Laccoliths intrusive igneous rock is a dome-shaped mass of the igneous rock which arches up the overlying sediments and has more or less a flat floor. Laccoliths are formed due to the intrusion of magma along the bedding planes of horizontally bedded sedimentary rocks. Laccoliths are of dome shape having convex submetal form. The ascending gases along the magma during the volcanic eruption force the upper strata of the sedimentary rocks to arch up in the form of a dome. Phaccoliths. Phaccoliths are formed due to the intrusion of magma along the anticlines and synclines in the folded mountains. Phaccoliths are thus wavy magmatic intrusions. It is a concave and convex body of intrusive igneous rocks. The concave surface is downwards, that is, the concavity is associated with the synclines and the convexity is associated with the anticlines. They range in size from a few meters to few kilometers. Lapoliths. Lapoliths is a shallow basin or bowl-shaped magmatic intrusion. When the magma is intruded and solidified in a concave shallow basin shape, the resulted form of solidified magma is called as lapolith. The lapoliths are generally coarse grained because of the slow process of cooling of magma. Intrusion and solidification of magma between the bedding planes of the sedimentary rocks is called as silt, wherein thin beds of the magma are termed as sheets. Silts are formed when the magma forces its way between two layers of sedimentary rocks and cools and solidifies in the form of horizontal layers. Silts are formed from highly fluid basaltic magma. Its thickness may be several hundred meters, but the horizontal extent is much greater in comparison with its thickness. Dikes. Dike is a wall-like intrusive igneous rock which rises upward from the magma chamber and cuts discordantly the bedding planes of sedimentary rocks. Dike is solidified magmatic intrusion which are mostly perpendicular to the bedding planes of the sedimentary rocks. The thickness of the dike ranges from few meters to several meters. Relative resistance of dikes to erosion as compared to the surrounding rocks gives birth to few interesting landforms like dike lake, upstanding ridges and hills, etc. A very good example of a dike rock is seen across the Paleo Channel and the valley of Narbada near 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 waterfall in Bhairaghat near Jabalpur. Rocks formed by the solidification of magma above the earth's surface are known as extrusive igneous rocks. Extrusive igneous rocks are generally fine grained or glassy basalt because lava after reaching over the earth's surface are quickly cooled and solidified to comparatively low temperature of the air, and thus there is no enough time for the development of grains or crystals. Gabbro and obsidian are the other examples of extrusive igneous rocks. The extrusive igneous rocks include lava flows and volcanic ash. On the basis of the nature and appearance of lavas, the extrusive igneous rocks are divided into 1. Explosive type and 2. Quiet type. Explosive type of intrusive igneous rocks are the result of volcanic materials in which fragmental material like bombs, lapilli, dust and ash are deposited. The igneous rocks formed due to the mixture of volcanic material ejected during the explosive type of volcanic eruption. Fine volcanic materials like ash, dust, when deposited in aquatic condition are called as tuffs. The mixture of larger and smaller particles after the deposition is called as breccias or agglomerate. They are more susceptible to erosion because these rocks are not well consolidated. In quiet type, the lava flow comes out to the surface through minor cracks and fissures. These lavas, after being cooled, acquire the shape of the basaltic igneous rocks. Basic lava flow from fissure eruption cools and solidifies to form basaltic igneous rocks. Flood basalt resulting from several episodes of lava flow during the fissure eruption form lava plateau and lava plains. Deccan Plateau in peninsular India is composed of basaltic rocks. Igneous rocks are mostly associated with volcanic activity and thus they are also called as volcanic rocks. 90% of the Earth's crust comprises of igneous rocks. These rocks are formed due to cooling and solidification of lava or magma. Sometimes they are also formed from a mixture of fragmental material and lava. Igneous rocks are generally very hard and impervious in nature. Igneous rocks are associated with joints. In most of the cases, the number of joints increases upwards in any igneous rocks. The joints are formed due to the cooling and contraction. At times, the joints are formed to the decrease in superincumbent load due to the removal of the materials through denudational process. Igneous rocks are generally not fossiliferous. Igneous rocks does not contain fossils because they are formed due to cooling and solidification of hot molten rock material. Therefore, any remains of plant and animal life, that is fossils, are destroyed because of the high temperature of magma or lava. Igneous rocks are not associated with distinct beds or strata. They are not stratified in nature. Igneous rocks are granular and crystalline in nature. The texture, size and the form of grains vary depending upon the rate and place of cooling and solidification of magmas or lavas. Igneous rocks are mostly subjected to mechanical or physical weathering. Igneous rocks are less affected by chemical weathering as the water does not percolate in these rocks easily, with the exception of basaltic rocks which are very easily weathered and eroded when they come in contact with water. Most of the igneous rocks consist of silicate minerals. Economically valuable minerals like iron, gold, silver, zinc, lead, copper, aluminium, manganese, magnetite, etc. are generally found in the igneous rocks. The crust of the earth is composed of rocks which are aggregate of the minerals. Rocks are basically classified into three types as igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic. In this lesson, a detailed classification of igneous rocks and their characteristics is undertaken. Igneous rocks are called as primary rocks. The earth crust is mostly made up of igneous rocks. Economically valuable minerals like iron, gold and silver are found in the igneous rocks.